kiss for you.
The too long didn't watch list is you should definitely download Windows 11, get it up, get it installed, get it upgraded, all that, and use it because it is great now. It's wonderful. You don't need to worry about all the bloat and all the annoyances that Windows 10 had. Overall, things like the menu and the system and the UI and all that, it's definitely an improvement over Windows 10. And there's not really a reason to suspect that things moving forward are going to be worse like they were with Windows 10, where you have an update, it make things slower and more cumbersome. There's been a bunch of updates that have only made things better. So overall, if you're looking to upgrade from a Windows 10 machine to a Windows 11, or maybe get a new machine to upgrade to Windows 11, you can definitely do that, and you'll have a good time. There's no worries there. All right, today we're looking at Windows 11 in 2024. We're going to be looking at functionality, performance, how it is from transferring from Windows 10, someone like me that had to go through that, and a bunch of other things kind of around Windows 11, kind of reviewing Windows 11 and seeing if you should switch from Windows 10. As many people know, Windows 10 is ending, with their end date being around October, I believe, of 2025. And so a lot of people are going to have to figure out, do I want to switch now, or should I wait a couple months if you're waiting on maybe your school or your work to shift over computers, or maybe your personal computer rig doesn't support Windows 11 or some other concerns you might have had. Are you going to wait, or are you going to do it now, basically, right? Because it is ending next year. Now, this basically just means things like technical support and feature updates as well as security updates. But if you do have a more enterprise or work level subscription, I guess, to Windows, you probably will still be getting security updates as part of like a compatibility thing. But the general public will probably want to avoid Windows 10 after this date because they will not be getting security updates for them, right? So the one thing I really wanted to kind of focus on first for Windows 11 is kind of setting the stage on where it is when it launched. So it launched around October 5th of 2021, and I believe there was a beta kind of for like a beta or a demo of Windows a little bit before then, kind of showing people how the interface worked and how stuff operated and all that. And I think a lot of people take away from that was that, wow, this is feeling better than Windows 10, but there's a lot of problems that definitely need to get ironed out, and none of them got ironed out before it got released. So the main consensus was that you don't want to go to Windows 11 from Windows 10 because there's a bunch of problems and they need to fix it and just wait, right? New stuff, new system. No one was kind of in Windows 11. It was at like a 2% adoption rate, right? People weren't really driving with it all that well. And ultimately, it's been a couple of years since then, and so we're really trying to figure out, is now finally the time where everything is going well and we can recommend Windows 11. For me personally, I like Windows 11, and I think it's a very good upgrade from Windows 10. However, I had a lot of problems with Windows 10. Specifically, I had a problem with Windows 10's File Explorer and some issues with drivers, video drivers, and crashing and all that. They were kind of weighing me down and kind of making me think, hey, maybe I should get a new computer in that case, because my older computer didn't support Windows 11. But we'll get into that in a second. So the problems I had, a couple of them were that my File Explorer would just randomly crash. It would be doing everything. My menu bar here would just randomly stop responding. It was because of File Explorer, so I had to go and restart that. I had some NVIDIA driver issues to kind of work out. I had other issues relating to consistencies, stability, updates for Windows randomly happening or not happening. And so I was kind of just like getting really annoyed that my operating system wasn't working at a functional degree enough of the time. And so I was kind of like, right, I hope Windows 11 was better. And that's why I had heard from people was that among all the problems, Windows 11 is still more stable, right? So ultimately, I decided, okay, I'm going to get a new computer. It's going to have Windows 11, and I'll just, deal with Windows 11. If it sucks, there is a way to technically go back, but I wanted to just, try it out, see how it works. So we're on Windows 11 right now, obviously, and I guess I'll kind of just explain why my other computer couldn't go to Windows 11. So there was basically a whole big thing for Windows 11 was that it needed a specific security module to activate Windows 11. That's basically just a security module in your CPU that basically told it what things it can and cannot accept, and it was a security thing, right? So older computers like mine that were, I think the cutoff was like 8th gen Intel or later, at the point when 8th gen Intel was the generation of Intel was like at 10th, I think, so it was like relatively annoying to have a requirement of 8th gen Intel when a lot of things were still running 7th gen, or maybe some laptops were running 8th gen, but like it was kind of on the edge, right? So basically the TPM module was required to run Windows 11, and older machines that were pretty common at the time couldn't run it, and so at the cost of the old people, the new people would come in. Not people, but like the Windows 11 was seen as kind of a transition point between, okay, the older machines are going to run Windows 10, and the newer, lighter weight, more ultrabook-like experiences are going to be running Windows 11. That was kind of the idea for a while, is that Windows 10 is going to be the main one, and Windows 11 is going to be the kind of new one, but not for everyone. It's going to be kind of the one that you're going to shepherd in. Windows for ARM was going to be Windows 11 based, and Windows on small form factor, not, like laptops and smaller laptops and stuff, and the surfaces were going to be Windows 11, but the bigger desktop-like things were never doing Windows 11. It wasn't built for that. That was the idea. You could buy a chip right here to put into your system until they all sold out immediately when this kind of news broke, so that immediately became non-possible. But most nowadays, obviously, everything has a TPM 2.0 chip in it, so you can just have Windows 11 or upgrade to Windows 11 pretty easily. So now that everyone has Windows 11, and that's not an issue anymore, let's look at actually some stuff about Windows 11 that I think are pertinent. So the first thing we want to look at is the File Explorer, right? For me, this was a big thing. I really like this new setup. It's basically just Mac OS's version, right? Big buttons, logos for everything, not logos, icons for everything. Viewing and stuff is set up at the top here like it always is. Selecting and stuff, filtering is also at the top here. The typical up-down buttons. This stuff on the side is pretty much the same, but I do like the setup here, as well as things like, example, this context menu. Right click, it brings up all the menu, all these things, right? The important stuff you need is at the top instead of being buried under copy at like the bottom here. It's very accessible at the top. So is rename, so is delete, so is copy and cut. So I don't have to go all the way at the bottom here and click. I can just do it there. All these are set up well. They also have icons. The glass pane design is working well here. All the edit and all the kind of default systems, default options are at the top, and all the extra options are at the bottom, which was not something you got in Windows. You would right click a file in Windows and you get this gigantic box that could be literally the entire size of the screen here, with a bunch of different stuff. Intermixed was the things that Microsoft did by default, and the things that you downloaded, like apps you had downloaded, that let that stuff happen. Now that's no longer the case. Another thing is you can see WinRAR collectively adding everything in one kind of drop down instead of it being, every single line item was on here. I think some applications did that, some didn't, but I remember WinRAR being one where it's like, oh, you can add to RAR, you can extract. Instead of being this drop down, it was like all in a line. So I'd have a file and it would be like giant menu, right? So that luckily is mostly fixed. Except for the fact that it's not fixed, because if I go more options, that pops up immediately. It's like, okay, well, it would be great if we could get rid of some of those Windows 10-isms. Here, as in it's like, okay, yes, it is combined here and it's all that, but now we're in a mix, right? We have open, edit with Clipchamp, edit, print, WinRAR is back up here right next to move to OneDrive. The edit things are up here, add to favorites, right next to normal things like copy as path, copy, delete, create shortcut, all that. This is what it should be, all the normal stuff and then all the weird stuff. And then it immediately goes back to WinRAR here and edit here and normal stuff here, right? This was a mess. Unfortunately, you can still access this for some reason, but ideally you have this better menu. Now, if you notice, if I go to properties, we still have the same Windows 7 property list that we've had forever. Obviously, if it's, not broken, don't fix it, whatever. If it's not broken, don't try and fix it. Don't try and mess things up. But it's just kind of funny that, okay, we go through all that effort, and then here's this old menu we've had forever. It works, it's fine, it has information and all that, but it's just kind of old. Overall, I like this. I like the setup here. These things work well. It shows up a new home menu. I like the home menu. It shows your recents. It shows your favorites that no one ever uses, and it shows recommended. That is always wrong. But at least it's something, at least it's trying. So that's one advantage of this new user interface I like. The other one that I like is the start menu. So before you had your Windows thing in the corner, you clicked it, and we bring up kind of like this menu where you'd have your recent, and then you'd have a bunch of stupid ass tiles that no one used. Now you don't have that. You have these at the top here, and you have, basically ads, quotes of the day, and random stuff, and games for you, and travel, and all that. But at least you can ignore this now. It's not like, oh, if I needed, if this wasn't my recents and it was recents in all my apps, and I had to scroll through to find my apps, right? And I would just, what I do a lot of the times, I think most people did this, was they'd pin the apps they used the most. If they weren't here, they were on here, which made it really annoying because this was intermixed and flipping and everything with ads. And so you'd always have to figure out, okay, where's the tiny section in this that my apps I pin are versus the ads. So that was kind of annoying. But now you don't have to worry about that because they've moved. So we have this section. You can basically ignore everything here, which is nice, and just focus on your recents. Or you can click on this button, and it actually shows you your apps. It shows you in a functional, non-disgusting corner list mode of all your apps. You can click all apps, and it does bring you back to that, alphabetically sorted hell of a list. But if you don't want to do that, you have this section. I like this section. I wish this was actually used more. Why is there only 2 pages of pinned apps? Why can't I have this be default where I look for icons that I can identify and have names instead of this, which is still icons and names, but harder to find icons and names in a long list with all this empty space. It feels kind of ridiculous. This is good. I like this. And obviously recommended, which is overall fine. I really like this menu. I think it is definitely better than what it was before, and I would recommend this menu as advantage of like Windows 11, right? This timeline viewer has the Mac OS style zoom all your screens out or your windows out and show you them at once, which I think is a nice feature they took from Mac OS there. Instead of the timeline thing, that was kind of useless. The other thing I like is the ability to do Task Manager. This was another thing that people were complaining about. There was no Task Manager button here, which was ridiculous. Now there is, so you don't have to worry about that. And Task Manager is pretty much all the same. I do like how these are on the side instead of on the top. I think that's pretty good. Anything else here? All this is basically the same. You have your Services tab here, which I don't think you had before. You had to kind of go in like Device Manager, but now you have Services, so you can do things like resetting File Explorer or certain apps and stuff, so I think that's really good. Settings menu is also pretty good. The problem is you'll see here, if I open it to full screen, you have a disgusting amount of white space for no reason. If I shrink it, it looks normal. So it's like, oh, use it like this and not like this. That's, I guess, pretty reasonable. It's just kind of funny how there's a giant white space here. This system works pretty well. Has all the stuff you'd expect. It's organized relatively well. There's not too much that got changed around in here, except for the audio section, which is a little odd, but overall, nothing here to kind of be concerned about. It is, however, well laid out. It's snappy. It doesn't, use the tile system, which is good. And overall, yeah, I do like this settings menu. Now, the settings menu I do not like is the bottom one here. If I click on this, there used to be a way to kind of separate things out. Now there isn't. It's just this menu here with Wi-Fi and audio. So instead of being able to click on Wi-Fi and have the Wi-Fi pop up, it's another step. I have to click on you, then click on Wi-Fi, and then have Wi-Fi pop up. Same thing with audio, right? That is basically my only complaint here. Everything here works smoothly. I can click on it. There's a shortcut, I guess, if I want to get to this quicker. Volume mixer is by default here. Instead of having to go to a separate volume mixer, I can mute and change it there. I can click this settings button to basically do the exact same thing but larger in the settings. And the only thing this really affects is nothing. Pretty sure this volume mixer is actually the exact same setup as you would do in the quick settings, just in a larger screen. And then I guess the other thing is the more volume, which does take you to the larger one where you can do things like change all sound devices, more sound settings. And this is where you get the old sound mixer that you used to do with recording and playback and sounds and all that. So that's still there if you want to use that and are more comfortable with it, but there is kind of this better, I guess, questionably setup here. So all that's good. You have your calendar and your notifications on the side here. That's pretty normal. You can open up your calendar and there's no longer that kind of reveal effect, which I thought was kind of annoying at times. It's just pretty simple. You can click on these and it shows you if anything on those dates if you use Outlook in the calendar app there. So that's pretty good. Anything else? Notifications here will show up first, which I like, and you can toggle Do Not Disturb on right there. Copilot in the corner. You can basically ignore that if you want. The one thing that's really annoying that I don't know why they did is they decided that, okay, if you're going to have your start menu here in the center instead of in the corner, we're going to put this annoying, ridiculous weather widget icon. Now, this did exist a little bit in Windows 10, and it was awful, and they made it worse somehow. So you have everything here, and it looks awful. First off, giant ad. Second off, widget. It's not enough information. You want more information? You can't click on it because it opens up a web browser with even more information. In order to actually access this, you have to click on it and click pin. For some reason, that expands this weather app, which I guess is useful because now I can see where it's actually even telling me I am, and maybe a little bit of like when the rain's coming, and then what I wanted, which is an hourly forecast. In this case, the hourly forecast is good, but you know, like you have to pin it. The weird thing is if I unpin it, it disappears. And it's not anywhere, it's not anywhere here, it's just gone, and then I have to reopen it and back it goes, right? So there's some inconsistencies there that are not fun. I also can't move these, so if I want markets first, I literally can't. If I add plus, it just takes me to, I assume, the store. Oh, it crashes. Huh. So, yeah, this weather thing, this widget is not good. In fact, it's horribly broken. So don't use it. But, yeah, the widget thing doesn't work. It's oddly set up of like, here's your widgets in the corner, here's all this crap no one cares about, but you can't move the widgets, so like this is stuck. Ideally, I'd like to be able to drag you up and kind of do that, but the only thing I can do is hide or pin, and for customization, the only thing I can do is, for, you know, traffic, it's detect or not detect. So that's kind of annoying, right? Big ads for games, a bunch of articles with giant ads. So definitely just, you know, avoid the mobilification, I guess, of this menu right here. But overall, the other two menus, this one and the search one, work pretty well. The search, the one thing I will say about the search, which is I brought up, if I type in thing, and this is for if you went from like Windows 10 to Windows 11, if I bring up something like itch.io, which is an app I had installed on my old computer, it kind of brought everything up. It'll try and find all those things on a new computer. Like it'll try and download them automatically for you, which is great, except when it doesn't and it still pretends it does. Like it couldn't find itch.io on the Windows Store, and so it'll still show you like you have it installed, like right here, like I have it installed. If I try and open it, it'll say I tried to find it on the Windows Store and couldn't, so I'm going to take you to the website, which I guess is useful, except it would be more useful if it just told me that I didn't have it installed, because it would accomplish the same goal. If I just type this in, and it brought up something like this, I'd be like, okay, I don't have the EA app installed, so now I gotta go and do that, right? But pretending that it's installed, like pretending that a different app is installed, right? That's installed, I can open it and it'll run. Having no difference between the two, and having yet this one saying, oh, we're not here, was really annoying when I was looking for an app and I'm like, oh yeah, I installed that, and then I ended up not. But overall, I think the search works pretty well, except for some weird things like being able to click a corner button here, and so I think that's kind of odd, but you know, small things there. But overall, I think definitely this is an improvement over the interface and the kind of situation that we had with Windows 10. And I think that's it for a lot of things in Windows 11. There's a lot of good. This menu's good. The performance seems really nice. I didn't have any complaints with that. Things are snappy. Things open quickly. Things kind of update quickly as well. This menu works well. The file explorer is pretty snappy and kind of works. This menu here is really nice. Overall, Windows 11 feels like a very smooth experience, which isn't something that you'd expect from something like Windows 10, which was not a very smooth experience. Now, obviously, this could become worse over time, but right now, I definitely recommend Windows 11 if you're trying to figure out if you're going through Windows 11 or not. I would definitely recommend Windows 11. However, one thing I will say is that I have noticed Windows 11 on laptops running a little bit slower over time, with same thing that happened with Windows 10, but I do think that Microsoft has the right idea with Windows 11, and that unlike Windows 10, it won't get slower over time. The big problem with Windows 10 is that, more updates would make it slower and worse and drain battery and all that. I don't think they're doing that. I think they have a pretty good grasp of kind of the situation around Windows 11, much more so than they have with Windows 10, so they can prevent it from being a slogfest. Because again, most importantly, this isn't going to run on the 1,000,000,001 systems that Windows 10 did. And Windows 10 became so bloated because it had to run on, 2008 parking meters and point of sale, restaurant systems and all these other things that kind of had to run Windows because it couldn't run anything else because it was, too unreliable. So it ran Windows 10, and so it had all these compatibility things built into it from Windows 7 from forever ago, and Windows 11 doesn't have that. That's kind of why they had that security thing. And so overall, you can rest assured that this is going to kind of be the forward momentum that Microsoft needs to make an operating system that's not bogged down by everything, which is, I guess, the kind of the best thing you can hope for in a new operating system, is that it lets go of all the other crap. I also found this pretty funny. This image takes forever to load. And it's like, the speed of Windows 11 at, 240p. So this is their advertising page. There it is. This is their advertising page, basically just saying, look at all of our good features, like Copilot. They're really not selling this that well, which is another fun thing. They had their first keynote for this, and it was all like Apple-like, and it was like, look at all these innovations we're doing. And none of them were useful. The only innovation they did is getting rid of all the reliance on Windows 10. So yeah, this actually wasn't the video I planned to make. I'm going to have a larger video on Netflix, Netflix review, a larger review on that. So hopefully that will be out on Friday. I just want to kind of get this out because I know a lot of people are, asking, is it time for Windows 11 right now? Is it time for kind of everything to switch over? Do we still need to wait? What's that? And overall, I'd say now is a good time, but you can also wait a little bit more, and luckily it's not going to be like, now it's a great time, but don't wait too long, because then 4 months it's going to be awful because there's going to be all these updates that make it worse. I don't think it's heading to that direction, so I think it's a good time to kind of jump on it now overall. So yeah, I will see everyone in the